Hi there, Slow Down Society, and welcome to episode number 63. We've got another encore episode for you today, and this is entitled, or was originally entitled, How to Get What You Want When You Want It. And it's so funny because when I hear those words, I have that song in my head. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Oh, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. And I think that is pretty much the human experience. We just want what we want when we want it. And so in this episode, and I just re-listened to it and I continue to agree with myself. And I think there are such good nuggets of juicy wisdom. So if you did take a listen to this a year ago, I think you are going to be happily pleased to re-listen. And if you are a brand new listener and you haven't had the time to go back and listen to the archives, I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised at just the fact that your dreams are still in there. They're deep down inside, and maybe you shoved them down. Maybe you thought they were unrealistic. Maybe you thought that this wasn't your lot in life. And so I want you to take a listen with an open mind and realize that you can have the things you want, the dreams you want, the goals you want, the life you want. You can. It may be a little bit different than what you had in mind years and years and years ago, but you absolutely can get a teeny tiny slice of it right now when you take the time to slow down and plan and plot and methodically move forward, baby step by baby step. I want to also let you know that if you haven't taken advantage of the massive December Simple Shortcuts to Peace sale, you should. So type in the coupon code, all one word, all caps, massive December, into the Simple Shortcuts to Peace sales page, which is at stephanieodea.com/peace, P-E-A-C-E. And I think you will be astonished at how much gets chopped off the purchasing price of the Simple Shortcuts to Peace course. And I would love for you to join us because I really do think this is absolutely the best personal development course out there where you can binge and watch it and gobble in all of the things all at one time, or you can take it slow and go bit by bit. We're going to have live coaching calls on the first Saturday of the month, and these will be recorded and embedded in the Facebook group. And all of these things are available for you right now at an insanely low price if you use that massive December coupon code. So right now, wherever you are, take a deep breath and consider yourself loved and hugged, and take a listen at this encore episode of taking stock and figuring out where it is you want to go and how to make it happen and how to get what you want when you want it. Take care. Hi there, Slow Down Society. I am so happy you are here. We are in episode number 9, and I am recording this during Thanksgiving weekend, which has just been awesome and so lovely and so calm and so peaceful and so content. And I sure hope that that's how your Thanksgiving was in your house and in your family and in your life, if that is what you wanted. It's what I wanted, and we sort of set our intention early on, probably back at the beginning of October. I realized this was going to be pretty much the last Thanksgiving where all of my kids, so I've got 3 and I've got one in college, one is senior in high school, and then I've got a middle schooler. But it was going to be pretty much the last time that all of us would be in the house together and alone. And I just thought, let's figure this out. Let's find a way that we can still see all of the different pockets of family, but in a way that felt good and respectful to us and protecting our boundaries. And COVID is still swirling in our area. My youngest is not fully vaccinated. We've got a brand new newborn in the family, and not in my house, in my brother's house. But I just knew this is what I wanted. This is what Adam wanted. This is what the kids wanted. And so we were able to create that. And I think that is why I want to record this episode for you today, is figuring out the steps, getting what you want when you want it, because pretty much that's what life is. And that's what humans want. We sort of always need to be working towards something. There's a book I read a few years ago, and I think I actually quote this book a few times in my 2-4-6 Eat intermittent fasting book. And I think about it pretty often, and it's kind of a cheeky quote. And the name of the book is called Younger Next Year: Live Strong, Fit, and Sexy Until You're 80 and Beyond. And the authors are two men, Chris Crowley and Henry Lodge, and one of them happens to be a doctor. The name of the book, Younger Next Year, I do recommend it, and I write about it in my intermittent fasting book. The quote is, "You're either growing or you're decaying." And it's kind of a heady quote. And if you're in a bad mood, it might kind of anger you and upset you. And for some, it might trigger you, and you're just not interested in being told something like that. It's not fun to think about that you're either growing or you're decaying. But it is sort of how I have tried to design my life, and I work with my coaching clients, and it's absolutely certainly how I structured Simple Shortcuts to Peace. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about creating and building and crafting the life that you want. And I really do wholeheartedly believe that we are able to live exactly how we want to live. And the sky's the limit. I strongly believe in the American dream and the pursuit of health and happiness and abundance and financial security. And if you want something, go for it and go after it. And I realize that for many people, it's quick to dismiss success in that it's pure luck, or that you were born at the right place at the right time, and you were born in the right family, and you were born in a suburban neighborhood, and there's children all over the world who are not as fortunate, and there's people who have had very bad things happen, and they didn't have a stable family, and they didn't have all of the things stacked in their favor. And I am not going to argue with you, because that is absolutely true. And I am not here to ignore any sort of privileges that I may have been born into or have at my disposal. So acknowledge that. But then also, I just kind of want you to shelve it, because if your first thought that floats to your mind is, well, yeah, sure, but you were born here. Or yeah, well, sure, but I live in a different country. Or yeah, well, sure, but my parents divorced at a young age. Yeah, well, sure, but I have fibromyalgia. All of those things are true. But I think you can find an example of someone somewhere who has had all of the icky things that you have or think you have or believe you have, and have found a way to succeed against the odds. And that is what I want you to focus on. Is don't have a pity party in your brain, and don't decide to be a martyr. I strongly believe, and this is what I teach my children, and this is what I teach my coaching clients. If you want something, find a way to make it happen, and don't give up. Just keep going for it. So I want to share a few different resources that I have found helpful along the way and have helped me to create the Simple Shortcuts to Peace program. And what I have found has been helpful to the women that I work with, and what influences my writing and my day-to-day decisioning. Let's see. So we're in episode 9 right now. So I've been talking into a microphone for, not a very long time, but long enough in that I believe I did share with you in one of the earlier episodes that I've always been kind of drawn towards personal development and books and resources and audio programs and seminars and workshops. I like all of those things. And the very first personal development book that I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which many people don't even consider a personal development book and more of a finance book and a personal accounting book. I look at it as a mindset and training your brain to think in a problem solving way rather than this is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. Whatever, there's nothing I can do about it. Woe is me. Let's eat more pie and watch more TV, which is very kind of flippant, but I do have that sort of questioning of when I am thinking things through or a decision is coming my way. I think, okay, so in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is this what a rich mindset, a prosperous mindset, or a poor mindset? Another book that was very instrumental to me in the early stages of my marriage and my life, and when we were trying to craft the type of life that we wanted to live. And I say we because my husband Adam and I, we've been together since high school and married for 22 and a half years. So he is very analytical and has an engineer mind and likes numbers and spreadsheets and linear things. And I am very abstract and bouncy. And my ideas sort of are a super ball all over the place. I am certain that I have some form of ADD in that I get bored rather easily. And so the fact that Adam and I have this long, successful marriage, I show is just sort of an interesting aspect that we have continued to grow together and try new things and do new things and travel and have adventures. And I haven't gotten bored, and he has still been able to be stable and linear and all of that. Okay. So Steph, where were you going here? What I wanted was the other really instrumental book that I started reading. Actually, it was an audio that I checked out from the library, and it was on cassette tape. And it was The 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires. And it was by Brian Tracy. And I have now bought this book for coaching clients. My oldest has read it. I have printed out the checklists. I used this 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires as a checklist for a very long time, and do have that thought of, okay, well, would a successful person do this? Would a successful person get up right now and go for a run, or would she sleep in? And it sort of kept me on the path, the trajectory that I wanted to go to, and it has served me very well. So I would absolutely recommend that book for you too. So I'm going to mention a few other books that were sort of instrumental to me when I was mapping out the sort of vision and the trajectory that I have for my life. And in an upcoming episode, I'm going to go over my 5-year plans because I think they'll be helpful. And I started my 5-year plans at right around age 20. So another few books that came up while I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the 21 Success Secrets. They kept talking about mindset and sort of this out of the realm way of thinking. And it was a little too abstract for me. So I read them. I read Think and Grow Rich, and I read The Richest Man in Babylon multiple times. But I was trying to figure out how these kind of out there philosophy books, how they would be a step-by-step approach. So I think that is why I really, really liked the 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires. And then another one that I listened to on audio, and I did not like it, but I listened to the whole thing because it kept coming up in different circles, was the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. And I read that. I say read, but I know that I was listening to it on audio, and I was listening to it on audio in a courthouse. I was running a childcare center in a courthouse, and I had my 2-year-old. She came to work with me every day. So it was a very cool situation. I was working. If we didn't have kids, I could do my own thing, but I still had to have the center open for drop-in visitors. So I was able to read. I was able to write. I was able to kind of daydream and pontificate while getting paid and while having my 2-year-old, my toddler, with me. So it was a very cool situation. And it was instrumental to just kind of set me up for where I am today. And so I remember listening to Stephen Covey, and it was his own voice on this audio cassette and the 7 habits. And I'm taking notes, and I'm feverishly writing things down, and I've got notebooks and journals and all of these things. And what floated in my brain was that all of this advice, all of the things that I had been reading thus far, weren't really relevant to me as, I think at the time I was 27-ish. It wasn't relevant for me as a 27-year-old young wife and mother. All these books were written for businessmen. And not only were they written for businessmen, they were mostly written for salesmen. Napoleon Hill was a traveling salesman. Stephen Covey, they did the Franklin Covey day planners. And if you pay attention to the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, it ends up sort of being an ad for the Franklin Covey day planner. And I looked up the Franklin Covey day planner online. And again, this was back in, I guess 2003-ish, 2002, 2003-ish era. And so the internet was nowhere near as populated as it was now. So I remember reading different reviews of the Franklin Covey day planners. And I just didn't think it was going to be applicable for me as a young mom and a wife. And I had laundry to fold, and I had dishes to do, and I had shopping lists, and none of that was talked about within the Franklin Covey day planner that was geared towards businessmen. They were talking about time blocking and all of these things, and set your phone on do not disturb. But none of that works when you are growing a family, because you have to multitask. You have to do all of the things. You can have great intentions of getting up early and writing 500 words. But if you're up all night because somebody's throwing up or has a bloody nose or wets the bed, everything shifts and changes. And so I needed something a bit more fluid. So I actually had this idea. I had this whim of an intuition or a nudge, and I followed it, and it was right to them. You need to create a planner for moms. And so I wrote to the Franklin Covey company. It was like some sort of very generic email address, like info@franklincovey.com that I had found online. And so I wrote to them, and I explained who I was, and that I like listening to the audio tapes, and I like the idea of the planner, but I wanted something that was specifically geared towards moms. I wanted lists of things that I needed to do every day. And I liked the idea of a set of daily chores. And I liked the idea of 7 of them because of these 7 habits of highly successful people. So I came up with a list of 7 chores, which I very creatively named the 7 daily habits of a highly successful household. And so I wrote to Franklin Covey, and they wrote back, and we went back and forth for a little while. And then I told them that I wanted a job with their company, and that I would create these planners, and we could license them, and it would be awesome blossom. And then they wrote back and thanked me for my time and gave me a coupon code for 15% off. And I never heard from them again. That said, the idea didn't die, and that ended up turning into Totally Together Shortcuts for an Organized Life, which is my day planner for moms that I created. It took a few more years to come to fruition, but I didn't let that idea die. So how does this all come back with the mindset and the sort of out there waiting for signs from the universe and following your gut and your intuition that gets talked about in Richest Man in Babylon and Think and Grow Rich, and along with the step-by-step approaches of the 21 success secrets of self-made millionaires and the 7 habits that I just talked about. That has always been my secret sauce. It's always been where I have melded the two. I do sort of consider myself a spiritual person. I intercept God and the universe in my brain. I interchange them. I grew up Presbyterian. I went to Sunday school. I was confirmed. Adam and I were married in a Presbyterian church. He was baptized Catholic. We live in the San Francisco area. There are lots and lots of religions here, and I'm very respectful and thoughtful, and I like to read as much as I can. And so I pick and choose aspects of different religions and different philosophies. And if they fit my life, I use them. If they don't, I don't. And I'm not saying this to be offensive to anyone in any way. I think you can believe absolutely what you want to believe. Just for me personally, I look at things in a very large way. And I don't necessarily believe in any of the fire and brimstone and, bad things are happening because of God or Satan or the devil or anything like that. None of that fits well to me. It doesn't feel good in my body. It's not something I believe in. If that works for you, go for it. If anything, I am all for doing what feels right to you. And I've always taught and mentored that you need to follow the pull and not the push. If you're guided towards something, follow it. If you feel pushed or shoved into something and it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, and don't do it. So, because I am a bit woo, and I think in a future episode, I'm gonna record some of my thoughts on my wooedness. Is that a word? But for today, just know that when I talk, I sort of interchange God and the universe at the same time. So how does this all tie into getting what you want when you want it? So when I first started reading these success books, they were all about finances and monetary success. And while I thought that was great, it wasn't the only thing I was interested in. I was interested in having a healthy life. I want to live for a very long time. I want a strong, healthy relationship with all of the people that are important in my life, my husband, my children, my parents, my brother, our friends, our neighbors. I want all of the interactions to feel good. I want to have a really good control of my time management. I want to know what I'm doing, what the most important things are in my day, and find a way to tackle those while still working towards a larger goal, a larger vision that I have in life. I like things clean. I don't like messes. I feel calmer and more at peace when our house isn't cluttered. I've got clean lines, clean surfaces. Maybe that is a tiny bit of the ADD in that I can actually feel sometimes that clutter and the dust and the dog hair now with Sheldon is talking to me, and I don't feel tranquil unless those type of things are taken care of. And so all of these aspects working together is how Simple Shortcuts to Peace came about. Yes, finances are uber important. Yes, building a business, being an entrepreneur, those are pieces and parts of my identity, but that is not the overall vision. And I've been working for myself long enough that I have seen some very, very successful people that I looked up to go bankrupt, or I've seen their marriages crumble, or I've seen kind of some icky stuff happen in their lives because they were going too fast and moving too quickly. And they weren't taking the time to just kind of breathe deeply and stop and slow down and listen to the nudges from God and the nudges from the universe. And instead they had blinders on and they were going full throttle ahead in one direction and one direction only. And were perfectly okay shoving people down along the road or using people or stepping on them or backstabbing. And that is not something that I've ever been interested in any way. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. If we are lucky, life is long. And there's plenty of time to get it all done. Just go slow, pay attention, do what feels right, and you will continue to move ahead in a very thoughtful, peaceful, and methodical way. And that is my hope for you. And that's what I teach to my coaching clients, my one-on-one clients, and in the Simple Shortcuts to Peace. If you're interested, I would love to answer any questions. You can email me at any time. But I really think that when it comes to personal development, you can't just focus on any one thing. It all needs to work together in a cohesive way. What's the point of being a self-made millionaire if your health is crumbling and you know your A1C is way too high and you're over drinking and you're overeating? What's the point in that? What's the point of having what you think is the pinnacle success story of having the huge house with the marble floors and the super fancy cars in the driveway if you lose sight of the important people in your life and you end up rattling around in this big house all alone? None of that is important. Everything needs to work together. And that is what I teach. And that is what I do. And I am here for you. And I am so happy that you're here and you are listening. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. And go slow and make things happen. Do you have a slow living story to share? Leave me a voicemail at stephanieodea.com/podcast with any questions, comments, feedback, or testimonials, and I will be sure to include it in an upcoming episode. Also, if you found value in this episode, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. The more you share, comment, and leave positive reviews, the more people we can reach and share the slow living lifestyle and messaging. Thank you, Slow Down Society, and have an absolutely wonderful day.